Yeah, you find,
Yes, the father, the opposite of a mother. How silly of me.
you get to go.
No,
And,
daughter's the opposite of mother.
Lore Boys here. I am Peter O'Donohue, your guiding moonlight, and I am joined by...
Hey everybody, it's Ethan. Oh man, that's a long time to go without breathing out of your mouth. Let me tell you.
I'm fucking 9 days, 1
That was
hour,
amazing.
16 minutes.
It was really good.
Beautiful.
Not bad.
Dude,
Not
you,
bad.
you coughing was contagious to me because I legitimately have COVID right now.
Yeah.
I would be the
Playing
worst.
through it.
Yeah. James Miller, I'm here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most recent COVID victim of Quebec.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I got it, man. I stay home all the time. It's pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, me and Pete were joking. I mean, me, Pete, and
Everybody.
Bobby, who was there, we're all talking about how did Jamie get it? Like,
Yeah.
Jamie's the safest one.
Yeah, I think like my neighbor who works at the hospital cleaning overnight, she came and knocked on my door and talked to me for a while the other day, and I think that's where it came from. But honestly, I'm grasping at straws. It could be anything.
Yeah, there's never known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
have
like
to play good cop, bad cop with the virus cells in your body to find out.
Like you got
You know,
the white blood cell with the mustache, and then the white blood cell with the glasses, and it's
Exactly.
just
The one white blood cell is like, oh, I'll go to the grocery store without my mask because it's no longer legally required. And then the other white blood cell is like, I'm going to take ivermectin, you motherfucker.
he's got a gun to his head.
Gotta say, it's good to have you back, Ethan. Welcome back.
Thank you.
The world record attempt was worth it, I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
had to do it. I'm not breaking that kind of streak for this show.
Fuck no. He's got a Wheaties box to appear on, dude. Come on. Just unconscious on a table with Wheaties in front of you. So today, we're going to be riding high on our spectral steed, Elden Ring SEO, and going over some of the history and lore behind the Moonlight Greatsword, as you can see by the title. A weapon that has appeared in many games developed by FromSoft, the developer of Elden Ring and Dark Souls, and we'll get into it. This was something that one of us said on our Metal Wolf Chaos episode, also developed by FromSoft. Let's party. And then
Yep.
Discord user Moist Weapons was like, yeah, I like that idea. And I was like, cool, we're back in fucking Request Town, USA, baby. Like no more dumb book reports.
Our patented way of doing requests where we just seed ideas into the community until somebody parrots back what we just said and we go, yeah, sure, we'll do that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did DRG the last time, and we just talked about Deep Rock Galactic enough, and then they asked for it, so then we can.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Also, welcome to the patron party, Mad Max. He's been on the server for a while, and we finally wore him down. Got him.
Yeah. We wrestled them down, if you will.
I don't think any of us could ever do that. I know he's in our fitness channel. I think he could probably squat all three of us if we were like stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, I don't read that channel much, but I saw him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I dropped like 30 pounds, and I'm just in wrestling shape now." And yeah, I don't want to fight that guy. Yeah.
And you're sitting there under three. You're sitting there. It's like, well, I can squat 3 blankets, shivering in your bed.
Yeah. I actually did drop 3 pounds just sweating in my bed this weekend.
Jamie doesn't want to fight you, Max, but maybe he wants to be shot putted by you. So stay tuned.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's pretty likely actually.
Yeah.
Word of warning here for anybody listening: there will be spoilers for every single fucking game I mention, including Elden Ring. Since we'll be talking about how to get the Moonlight Greatsword in a lot of these games, which sometimes involves quests, bosses, or like secret tactics and shit.
Yeah,
That's cool.
but I mean, yeah, no, like revelatory spoilers. Just like, hey, here's the occasional side quest that you can do that's funky to get the Moonlight Greatsword, right?
Yeah, of course. It's not like the usual suspects where it's like you have to kill Kevin Spacey to get the Moonlight Greatsword in that one, right? So I guess like really just like the familiarity here. Like, have you guys ever used this weapon in any of the FromSoft games that you've played?
I don't know.
I'm using not Moonlight Greatsword, but it's like It's some type of moon sword, and the spell is called Transient Moonlight. But it's a light sword. It's a katana that is good for int builds, and it's like something moon sword, but it's not exactly.
I mean,
that.
yeah, no. If it's a katana, it wouldn't be the greatsword, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I've played Dark Souls 1 and 3, which we've talked about before. I've beaten Dark Souls 1 and 3. I've played Dark Souls 2, never beaten it. So, I mean, my experience is fairly limited. I'm sure I got it in Dark Souls 3 just because I beat the game with a strategy guide. I was just like, I'm done just talking to random NPCs and trying to put together their cryptic bullshit riddles to figure out how to do their quests. I just want like this in front of me. My friend bought the definitive edition, happened to have the strategy guide. And I was like, yeah, okay, give me that.
Like the PDF, basically.
No, he had the hardcover version.
That's the same Bobby from our Deep Rock Galactic episode that we were talking about.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about a lot of Bobbies. Honestly, it's just coincidence that this happens to be the same one. So I personally have only ever used the weapon in Dark Souls 3. My intelligence build is pretty much made for it because I wanted to see what it was like finally. My non-int stats like strength and dexterity are just the minimum requirements to wield the sword. It's always been, they're always like generally lower than the intelligence build because it is like a magical sword, right? My longtime roommate that we've mentioned on the show, Oren, had gone out of his way to get it in Dark Souls 1. And I will talk about how to get that later on.
Cool.
Sometimes the name changes. The look can vary from game to game, but broadly speaking, the Moonlight Greatsword is a long, wide, turquoise sword with a gold handle and crossguard. Sometimes there's gems in the handle. Sometimes the blade is completely transparent. Sometimes the actual moonlight itself is like summoned over top of it, like over top of a different weapon. And sometimes it's straight up just like a spell that you can cast and not a physical sword.
Cool.
The weapon first appeared in FromSoft's first game called Kingsfield. This is the Japanese first one, not the Western first one. Kingsfield was first released in 1994, and it's one of multiple special swords in the first game.
I was going to guess Demon Souls was the first game.
No, so that's like kind of this cultural thing where Hidetaka Miyazaki, who's like the golden boy, he's the CEO and like kind of main game designer there. He's like the director of the games. Like rose to popularity with the Souls series, but like this game came out when he was like 13 years old, so he was obviously not working at From Software.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1994. That's an old ass game.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have been
FromSoft really been around.
3 years old, which I was playing games at, but I definitely couldn't have made a game at that age.
Yeah, I looked it up. Miyazaki only got into the games industry when he was 29, so he was already like an adult, like way into being an adult when he started making video games. So the Moonlight Greatsword is not the calling card of Miyazaki-san, as most people probably believed.
Okay, so there's I'm looking up Kingsfield now because I'd never heard of it, and there's 4 of them if you don't count Kingsfield Additional 1 and Kingsfield Additional 2. Yeah. Then maybe you're going to get into this, Pete, but there's also one which came out in 2000 called Sword of Moonlight Kingsfield Making Tool, which was it's basically a utility app for Windows that lets you like it's like RPG Maker or whatever, so it lets you create a Kingsfield game.
Cool. Oh, that's cool.
Sword of Moonlight is the title of it.
Yeah, no, awesome. I did not look into that. I've got the Kingsfield games here, but I specifically left out Additional 1 and Additional 2 because, one, they are very stupid Japanese game titles and are like visual novel RPGs on the PSP.
Oh, okay.
Like, you do get the Moonlight Greatsword in both, but the only way to get the second one is to, like, follow an insane quest in Additional 1 and then import your PSP save into the second PSP game and then complete another completely insane quest. So, yeah. Where was I here? Oh yeah. So in the first Kingsfield, you actually first need to grab the Dragon Sword, which is like near a gravestone in a dungeon. And right before the final boss, a fairy will take the Dragon Sword and use her magic to restore the moonlight in it. So she will just like upgrade the weapon to the moonlight. It's just simply called the Moonlight Sword at this point. Cool. I think it's required to beat the final boss, and the final boss of the first Kingsfield is a dragon god named Seath, which we will come back to.
Oh, we know Seath. Those of us who played Dark Souls 1 know Seath, at least.
Yeah. Okay, that's
and those of us who listened to our Dark Souls episode.
Definitely, yeah, exactly.
No
Okay.
Seath.
That's why I should know Seath, but I still don't know Seath.
No, I don't think. I actually don't think you were there for that episode.
Oh,
No,
really?
the Lords of
think it was
Cinder
just me
one,
and
you
Pete.
were in like Poland or in Mexico or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Daddy
So
Jane,
you
was on
have
a
the
business
perfect
trip.
excuse.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Kingsfield, you find this sword, and a fairy blesses it with moonlight to make
Yes.
it the Moonlight Sword.
So that's
Yes.
like original lore. That's where it comes from. A fairy.
That's the OG. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's the OG Moonlight Sword. Already in its
This is
first
my sword. I got it from a moon fairy.
So already in its first appearance, the sword was recognizable and already had its iconic special ability. It's the ability to shoot out like a crescent-shaped beam of magic moonlight that does damage to enemies. Although in the older games in Kingsfield, for some reason, there's also like 4 lightning bolts to follow it at the same time. That doesn't happen in later versions.
It's moon lightning. Yeah, because in 1995, okay, so they didn't land on the moon in 1969, but they did land on the moon in 1995, and they put a weather controlling device up there, which removed the moon's ability to generate lightning.
Right. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. It was in Stanley Kubrick's will to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to keep it down there, Jamie? Jesus Christ, what's going on?
Sorry, dude. I'm
Yeah.
legitimately
Be sick. Be sick on your own time, please. We're working here.
Yeah, I didn't go to real work today, but I figured I'd show up for this one at least.
Yeah. I'm gonna figure out what your sick hours are and pay you accordingly next month.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Please dock my pay. Yeah.
We don't have a union. I can do whatever I want.
Honestly, dude, we're trusting you a lot with the math. None of us have ever checked your math. You could be doing it to us already.
That's true. Yeah. Skimming off the tenth of a percent of interest that we're making.
You'd think I'd be more skeptical considering I was embezzling accidentally from you guys for
That's true,
like
yeah.
a year and a half. So. But it was going to small time artists. So,
I
for a good cause.
subbed to someone once from our Twitch by accident, so I'm with you, Ethan. At least I did it to you.
There you go.
Yeah, giving away all our bits to titty streamers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amaranth needs that money, okay?
She needs the lore bits. In Kingsfield 2, the first one that we got in the west, the sword is just hovering on the ground behind the last boss. It's just like rotating on its point, basically, like a Doom pickup. Basically, it's just rotating there.
Okay.
It involves running face first into the dragon. The last boss is a dragon that looks like it's in cyberspace from System Shock. It's like a bunch of like line art cubes and shit just like flying around. It's very weird with a totally normal looking dragon just standing on this platform. I watched a video where a guy like doing commentary. He showed off the trick to like get it easily. If you just like run face first into the dragon's arms, some of its attacks will like clip you through its body, and you can just walk through him, grab the sword, and then to like leave the arena with the sword in your inventory, you just need to kill yourself, and then you just respawn at the checkpoint and can fight the last boss with the Moonlight Sword.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, suicide.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect a game from 1996 to have some like janky optimized strat for the final boss, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
that's just how it goes.
In Kingsfield 3, this one was hard for me to follow. It seems to be like a game-spanning series of insane riddles written by the Sphinx himself. So, like, FromSoft design is again not like a Miyazaki thing. Their games since like he was a teenager have always been like, yeah, well, like we're just not gonna tell you what to do. So, the quest starts with you need to track down multiple parts of a totally different sword called the Icarus Sword. This appears to, I could be completely wrong on this because again, like finding information about obscure Japanese PS1 games is not easy.
Yeah, it's difficult.
And I was very hungover. And like it seems that the Icarus Sword, when you assemble it, allows you to like break open this magical dome. And then you like need to find that like inside this dome is the broken Moonlight Sword, and then you need to find a fossilized fairy, which I found very cool because it's like very clearly establishes a timeline between the Kingsfield games. You need to find a fossilized fairy essentially. And when you bring her to the correct dungeon, she will like burst out of her fossil and materialize this like invisible bridge in front of you. It was invisible. Like now you can see it and use it.
Okay.
And then you go into a secret room with a portal in it where you are teleported to like this like old god wall of flesh covered in eyes and teeth,
Cool.
and then it will repair the Moonlight Sword for you and give it to you.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
You must not touch the Moonlight Greatsword.
Yeah.
Does the Moonlight Greatsword end up in Terraria? Do you know? Like you said, it ends
Oh,
up
I
in
don't
a lot
know.
of games. Because that game has a lot of moonlight, like the moon god or something is like the final boss, and there's a wall of flesh is like one of the big bosses too that we kind
Yeah.
of just talked
No,
about.
so I looked up FromSoft games specifically. I did not look up references to that, like references of it being in other games. It's probably in like Rogue Legacy or like Enter the Gungeon or some like indie game made more recently where someone on that design team probably played Dark Souls, right?
Right.
And like already knew that the Moonlight Sword was a meme.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like 0451 that is like a dev meme where that's like a specific reference to a specific office in a specific building that like a bunch of guys who like did Deus Ex and like Prey and System Shock and all like people like branched out. It's like it's a meme now because now FromSoft is possible, but like who the fuck knew what Kingsfield was before they played Dark Souls 2?
Of course.
Even, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This was just some developer's like passion project. He just like loved the idea of this like sword made of moonlight and was like, I'm gonna put it into all the games and make these like quests for it. But like it is very FromSoft to have this like, hey, it is like a very generic quest line in a video game. They just like they don't give you the NPCs who give you the information. You know, like even like Morrowind, there'd be like some NPC somewhere who would like reference like, oh yeah, heard tale that if you bring fossilized fairies to this place, something strange will happen, right?
Yeah, well, and Morrowind is very vague and obscure, which is like kind of my favorite part about it. But like, you will still speak to someone who tells you to go northeast, whereas in a Souls game, some guy just sits there and is just like sad and tells you you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like the Crestfallen Knight does not have a compass. Is it right?
Yeah.
Playing through Elden Ring, I haven't found anything I needed on purpose so far. I've looked up how to find everything I've needed. Like, you don't. It's too
for
vague.
anyone who has anyone's listening to this who hasn't played a Souls game, or anyone listening to this who's like cutting their teeth on Elden Ring and is just like, oh well, I don't find it that much in this game. It's because you're just missing all these like other items essentially. Like you're either stumbling upon them completely by chance, missing them, or relying on somebody else who stumbled upon them by chance to have posted it online how they found it.
Or like the message on the ground too, because the later games have a communication system where you can say like dog, and and it's clearly a tortoise, right?
Yeah. Especially with Elden Ring, it's so big that like there's a chance you'll just never go past that one building that had that one sword that's perfect for your int build or whatever. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah. If anybody wants to know how to get the Moonlight Sword in Elden Ring, it is part of this episode.
There you go. Stay tuned.
I will.
This is the least efficient way to find out, but maybe the funnest. So
exactly. I mean, yeah, it's probably easier to check up a YouTube video, or you could just mash the advance by 30 seconds button on your iPhone right now and get to that point.
You know what? I'll say it's a challenge. You know what? You think you can find it by yourself? I think you can too. Try and find it by yourself right now while listening, and we'll tell you how to find it.
Find it before we finish the episode.
Before we tell you how to find it, if you can find it, I mean, tweet at us, I guess.
So once you get the Moonlight Sword from this like flesh wall with the big eye on it, if you beat another boss who may or may not be optional, again I couldn't really figure it out, named King Alfred, he will be like, ha ha ha, you have defeated me, thank you, and then he will upgrade the sword for you to a more powerful form. This one has a lot more kind of like spikes on the crossguard now, so it's like kind of the one time where it looks different throughout all of its appearances.
Okay.
Because it's just it got badassed because it was 1997, I guess. It got cooler.
Because you beat the king of the titular Kingsfield.
Yeah. He put like sunglasses on it. And he was like, there you go. Sunglasses, and gave it a gun, and that's what made it cooler because it was the 90s.
Hell yeah.
Where was the gun? In Power Rangers, they had a cool gun sword, didn't they, in the 90s? The
Final Fantasy VIII gun swords were a big thing as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the Black Power Ranger had an axe that was also just a gun. Yeah.
I'm sad to say I never watched Power Rangers growing up.
Oh no?
Yeah, me neither. No. Power Rangers Lore would be a fun one though.
Yeah. I know it's generally pretty crazy. I think the story of how the show got made and like might even be more interesting because it's like a bunch of weird like redubbed royalty-free Japanese footage from like a unrelated show, like
Yeah.
something
Oh,
like that.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
And like the sweet theme song that everyone like
Yeah.
like that part. So they got the artist to change his name, like to write it under a pseudonym for Power Rangers, just basically so they couldn't give him credit, and like he doesn't get royalties, and people don't know him by his actual name because he wrote it under his pseudonym for that name for that
Holy
thing. Yeah.
fuck.
So he got completely fucked over in that whole thing too.
I mean, he agreed to do it.
He did, yeah, but
he took his paycheck. Like,
Yeah,
deal.
that's
he
true.
said to himself, like, "Oh, what are you doing? You're taking this other unpopular Japanese show and splicing together a bunch of royalty-free clips, and are going to have people in like suits, like power suits, fighting these monsters. Yeah, I don't think this is going to do that well. Give me the check. I'll take
fair.
the flat rate."
Little did you know, Go Power Rangers would be in everyone's heads like 30 years later. Yeah.
So when did we find the Moonlight Greatsword in Power Rangers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well it's it's one of the weird subtitles they have. It's Power Rangers Kingsfield, obviously.
Yeah.
The
They-
final Kingsfield were sorry.
They took a random clip from a cutscene in Kingsfield 4 and added it
Yeah.
to one of the scenes. Essentially.
And dubbed it in English, exactly, and then just cut in an unrelated high school American drama to get 22 minutes out of it. The final Kingsfield we'll cover is Kingsfield 4. This game has a much simpler quest where it involves finding a weapon called the Lawful Sword and then bringing it to like a sacred grove where you dip it in a pool of water, and then when you bring it out, it like ascends to the Moonlight Sword in this one.
Cool.
I think there should be more sparks flying off of bosses in Dark Souls games, though. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? Like the Power Rangers.
You know what's so funny? Like, I absolutely agree, because like I'm not squeamish or anything like that in games, but like I turn off the blood in FromSoft games because one, in Dark Souls 1 it tanks the frame rate, but in Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 the blood is ridiculous to the point of being distracting. I remember the blood in Gears of War is ridiculous because it like predates hit markers. So like when you're shooting a distant target, the blood shoots out to like indicate you've hit it with a gun. But when you're hitting a guy with a bat, you don't need a 6-foot fountain of blood to shoot out of his body. So like I turn it off, but if it was like the magnesium sparks that fly off the costume that leaves behind like that white smoke, I would totally leave that shit on. That'd be way better.
And then like sparks fly off, and then a split second later there's like an exaggerated jump where everybody flies backwards.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah. Now hear me out, Miyazaki. I know that you like the kind of the quiet melancholy of the Soulsborne series. That is, Elden Ring is very much a combination of every game that he has directed up until this point. You've got Moon Gods, it's European fantasy, it's just all his ideas, it's all his ingredients in one pot. But think about it. How much better would it be if you started to rip off Power Rangers instead of Lord of the Rings that you didn't understand?
Yeah.
That's
Wait a minute. You're telling me Ornstein and Smaug were just guys in costumes? What?
Big like rubbery costume flopping around.
The Elden Ring, it broke off into 5 great runes, right? You bring the 5 great runes together, they make the Megazord, and
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
I was gonna say the pink rune, the black rune, the red rune. Well, you've got the black rune of death, right? That's just the Black Ranger.
yeah. But the thing is, their Megazord just has no legs. It's all grafted arms everywhere.
Of course, yeah.
So it just drags
It
itself
is the
on
body of a young man with a spider body made out of other people's bodies.
Yes, of course.
Power Rangers.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there we go.
There you
Good.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, cut the recording right there. We're done. So in these old games, it seems to act like a kind of master sword in Zelda, the Moonlight Sword, which is why it's so... I guess it's like part of their DNA at FromSoft now because it was part of their first game, and it was... I mean, this came out after Zelda, so like to speculate, Lore Boy's speculation here, maybe they were inspired by like the legendary sword throughout time, basically, based entirely around the Zelda games, because I think at least 3 Zelda games predate the first Kingsfield, right? Something like that?
Yeah, Zelda 1 was 80s, I think, right?
When did Link to the Past come out?
84?
4, I'm going to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
LTTP. It came out in 91.
91. Oh.
Yeah, so like at least 3 games predate Kingsfield, so like the analog to the Master Sword seems to be the thing. Again, like information's like really hard to like old guides. I found one website that was probably 25 years old, where underneath the search bar it just says search service no longer available. I was like, that is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
There's a Zelda before Link to the Past, though, isn't there? There's like one.
Yeah, the first Zelda's from the 80s.
Yeah.
There's a Legend of Zelda. There's a Legend of Zelda 2, which is like the side-scrolling one.
That's the one that was really bad. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, really bad. Like criticized for not being the same as the Legend of Zelda 1, and clearly they went back to the formula that worked for them later on. But like it is kind of more reminiscent of like the 3D Zeldas that we see more and more these days, like Breath of the Wild, like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, where it was like they were experimenting with taking it out of that top-down perspective, right?
Right.
Now, it has been said that this weapon has actually been in every single FromSoft game except Sekiro, because Sekiro Shadows Die Twice only has one weapon. You only get the one katana. I read that on Screen Rant, which, like, kind of a lot of online news outlets, is just like an unpaid intern-powered, like, clickbait farm. Yeah. This isn't true and wasn't true when this article was written. So I don't think it's in Chrome Hounds, which is like a mech game that me and not a single other human being on Earth played, because I could not find a comprehensive list of the weapons in Chrome Hounds when I was Googling. And it's just like, I liked that game. No one else played it. It was like always a blockbuster. It's like a build your own mech game with like a campaign. It's a lot like Ace Combat, I guess, where it's like set in a fake country that's, you know, not Kazakhstan in this case, basically, because it's on like Black Sea. Yeah, and I couldn't find it because I remember like unlocking a bunch of the weapons, and there was melee in that game in Chrome Hounds where you could mount these like piston-mounted harpoons on the side of your mech that would just like shoot out these big spikes and retract, which was pretty cool. But there was like no unlock or whatever. I seriously doubt that the Moonlight Sword is in Monster Hunter Diary, Poka Poka Iru Village, because that is like a feline like village sim, and it is also not in their weird VR adventure game called Déraciné, which is French for unrooted or uprooted or something.
Yeah.
So that's at least 3 games that it's not in. So, Jamie, you're still a little nasally. Could you give us a nice little actually there while
Fuck off.
Take that, Screen Rant blogger.
Yeah, which you got me a couple days ago when I had the deep grumbly voice. Now we're over onto the nasally voice, but
actually, those are 3 games that we don't know, right? Yep. Can't say. It's hard to prove a negative, Pete.
Well, I do know it's not in Déraciné. I did look that up. Monster Hunter Diary, I just put in as a joke, and then Chrome Hounds, I don't remember, but it is not in Sekiro. I know that, and not in Déraciné.
I am looking at the weapon list for Core Hounds, and there does seem like there's no like sword class. So at most it'd be like Moonlight Sniper Rifle, I guess. But Moonlight Nerf Cannon.
I think Patches is in Chrome Hounds, though. I think I remember that.
Who's Patches?
He's the like he's like the bald guy with the big nose who always tricks you into trying to basically get you killed so you can loot your corpse.
Oh, in Dark Souls. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But he's been in a lot of games. I know he's been in Armored Core and like some other FromSoft games. I think Patches is in Chrome Hounds. It seems to be like a distant memory for me, but yeah. The president of these great United States of America, you can of course get this weapon in Metal Wolf Chaos, where it is just the blade of the sword with a foregrip and a stock, so you can equip it on your rotating weapon wheel in Metal Wolf.
Very cool.
In this game, it can be unlocked by rescuing all of the hostages in the game. So there's like sub-objectives in every mission. Some of them are hostage rescue. If you rescue everybody, you unlock the MLS, because Congress loves abbreviations, and it fires a laser disc surrounded by lightning. So it's still very similar to the old Kingsfield model of the Moonlight Sword.
Cool. Yeah. Well, he's the president of the United States, so they harvested the moon lightning, so he's still able to use it with the moon lightning, right? The weather control machine on the moon basically gives the president of the United States powers over moon lightning.
Of course.
Well established, real world.
Yeah.
Climate change is caused by the moon.
There's a conspiracy theory of Project Atlas, I think it's called, and this is in Alaska, and that all the earthquakes in the world are being controlled by the United States.
Yes, I have heard that.
Yeah, and you believe it?
No, not for a second.
Okay, well I do.
Wow, on record saying he doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. It's hard to prove a negative. Or something.
This again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a felony not to agree with the United States, dude. So come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you live, actually. I haven't been elected anywhere on a disagreeable platform, so
Right.
let's... You know, when I'm whatever Prime Minister of Nicaragua, I'll get back to you on to see how much disagreeing with them counts. Now that we're past a little bit of history, we can start getting into the more interesting appearances of the sword, starting with Demon's Souls. Kind of despite how janky and fucking complicated a lot of Demon's Souls is, getting the large sword of Moonlight is actually very easy. It's in one of the worst areas, I think, in like the entire fucking genre. It's the Swamp of Sorrow. Dark Souls swamps are also a meme, which is why I think there's like fucking 2 in Elden Ring or something like that. But the one in Demon's Souls is definitely the worst. You, at least in Dark Souls, you can run in Blight Town to like move at normal speed. In Demon's Souls, you just like fully encumbered, like fucking shuffle, dragging your feet against the ground. You can't roll. There's poisonous leeches and jellyfish everywhere who all shoot fucking like spikes at you. It's fucking awful. Awful. Like, I like that game a lot, but
Yeah. In Elden Ring, there's one token that you can get that increases the amount of souls you get by like 25% or something. So it's really desirable to have for when you're farming, but you have to go through this one cave that's filled with scarlet rot. And the same thing, you can only walk in it unencumbered, and if you roll, it actually affects you faster because you're touching the disease with your whole
Dunk
body.
in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's a really cool thing from Dark Souls 2 is when you get saturated with poison, the build-up effect lasts longer.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got I did a faith build just so I can like relieve Scarlet Rot, and I still haven't done that cave because it's so fucking annoying. You know, that would help a lot with farming, but yeah.
There is something about a lot of Souls games, like this thing too, where it's just like there's often sections where you're just like you're having fun playing a Souls game, and you get to a point you're like, well, I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to do Tomb of Giants right now. I don't want to just walk off cliffs for the next 20 minutes because I didn't happen across the one like skull lantern that will let me see in the dark or whatever. So now I'm just like wandering around in the dark, getting ambushed by giant skeletons. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this down and I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna go throw a frisbee by myself.
Yeah.
Just like add a tree so it bounces back. You don't have to walk as far to go get it, right?
Life's been busy. Then I got COVID. I haven't played Elden Ring in probably almost 2 weeks, or like maybe like a week and a half. It's one of those games I feel like where you got to be ready for it. You know, you got to be. I'm good to fail. I've got some energy right now, but.
I finally bought Breath of the Wild, which is the Dark Souls of Zelda game, right?
Right, of course. Yeah.
I'm glad you did. That's cool.
How is it? Sorry, I thought you were going to talk about it. I was like sitting here just like tenting my fingers, waiting for like an impression.
It's okay. There's no Moonlight Greatsword. No, actually, what I'd say is like I like it a lot, but I'm like a huge fan of Zelda games, right? Like I've beaten I think every 3D Zelda game except for Majora's Mask. Because I hate that game. But like, so I really like it. The combat is fantastic. It's like easily the best combat in any Zelda game ever. There's so many like great elements to it, and then there's like just a bunch of stuff from like that they've taken from like other video games. Like some of the worst aspects of Skyrim, some of the worst aspects of Dark Souls that just like they're like, we're gonna add this in too, and it's like, why did you do this? Like they have like a crafting system. And like obviously, you guys probably have seen like weapons can break when you use them.
Yeah.
And like there's no repairing durability, and like it's an interesting mechanic because it makes you use different weapons, and I get that. But it's just like you go on this like you're just wandering around, and there's like this optional quest where you end up at this snowy mountain, and you go to the peak of this snowy mountain, and there's this like snowy like Chinese dragon, like one of the longer dragon like archetypes there, which is just like from your perspective like hundreds of feet long, like probably like 600 feet long or whatever, and it's like coiled around the top of the mountain, and it's affected by Calamity Ganon's like sickness, plague, whatever, right? So you shoot off like a piece, and then he like starts to fly away, and you have to like chase him through this like frozen landscape, and like at the end of it all, you get this like legendary frost spear that can like freeze your enemies, and it's like, oh, like that's really cool, but then it broke after 20 minutes of playing. So like it just takes all the punch out of like an epic quest like that. Like it was really cool doing the quest and everything, but it's like, why even bother giving me a fucking weapon reward for it? Like I'll just say very enjoyable, but no Moonlight Greatsword.
I played the first 2 bosses of it. Like I borrowed it and played for like a weekend, and not to spend too much long on it, but one thing that I had a problem with was some of the puzzles. Like, you know, you go in those little dungeons, you do the puzzles. Like, to knock the round balls in, like, I know exactly
right
where
direction,
I wanted to do it. And I'd know exactly where I'd want to do it, but it would take me 30 fucking minutes just to, like, line up the shot perfectly. And I'm like, what, is this golf, dude? Like, it doesn't even play like a golf game, so it doesn't feel fair. Like, anyways.
I mean, my other complaint is, like, another big complaint is the classic Nintendo, like it has forced motion controls for a lot of the shrine puzzles where you have to like it's the you know, you have a platform with like a bunch of holes and like a maze, and you have to like guide the ball through it by like tilting and you're holding your controller trying to do that. Like I beat that quest by just like getting a system where I could like flick it up into the air and like hit it like a bat to where it needed to go, basically. Because I'm like, I don't have the patience for this, and like classic Nintendo to like shoehorn uncomfortable motion controls into an otherwise fine game that didn't need it, right? But.
Yeah, and I wanted to play online Diablo for the first time in a while. I had to pay $5 just to play for them. They're oh my god. Anyways, Nintendo. Dude.
Bitch about we'll bitch on the bonus track.
I was just gonna say, subscribe to our Patreon to get us bitching about shitty game mechanics and practices. Yeah.
But I mean, that never strayed too far. Like that never really strayed too far from the path there, which is written behind you. I just realized the getting the Moonlight Sword in a bad area. At least it doesn't break down. There's like in the Swamp of Sorrow a cluster of these giant slugs like hanging from a mucus strand on like the roof of this cave. And if you just shoot them down, they'll drop down, and the sword will be stuck into the ground. So you can like run past them or kill them all, and you get the sword that way. Souls games are pretty notorious for having like little bits of flavor text on every item, kind of explaining their context or whatever, like telling you who patented a jar full of oil that explodes into lightning or some shit, right? You can hit the info screen, you get like the patent number on it. You're like, oh, that's interesting, and you can look it up at the Lordran like patent office.
From our first episode, our first Dark Souls episode, we know that the bottle of lightning was patented by Gwyn, and I think we called it like his Windex that he sprayed at dragons, and I don't know if we made the joke Gwyndex at the time, but if not, there you go.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's a very good one. I know I drew a picture of him spraying Windex directly into the eyes of a dragon, like holding it down and spraying Windex into its eyes.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll go back and edit it. If we didn't say it, we said it now.
We said it now.
You use like a text-to-speech engine where it's like mid-conversation, like Gwyndex.
Yeah, exactly.
So the flavor text on the Demon's Souls, Moonlight, or like Large Sword of Moonlight, says Vito, the Moonlight Knight, is thought to be. Oh no, excuse me. Oh, I was reading my own text as if someone else had written it. It explains who Vito is. So it says that Vito, the Moonlight Knight, is thought to be a high-ranking female knight who accompanied the maiden Astraea into the Valley of Defilement on her pilgrimage. This is what you can glean from the
Peter O'Donoghue 2022.
Yeah,
you gotta see it now, dude.
Yeah. They're gonna put me on a loading screen in like the Demon Souls remake, looking very confused, explaining the Moonlight Greatsword.
Well, for the listeners at home who can't see the camera, Pete like leans so close to his computer screen, like we could almost just see his forehead on the webcam. Basically, was confused enough for a second there.
Well, because there's like parts of the script I wrote where I kept the quote in, and sometimes where I'll like write it in your own words, like 5th grade English teacher did, and I'm just like. Okay, and of course I was like so fucking hungover too. I don't remember putting this fucking thing together.
I always italics the quotes. You gotta italics it, then you'll know. That's when.
So I do. I did italicize a bunch of stuff as well as like game titles. So like this one is in regular plain text. So like This one's OG. Put me on the loading screen, baby.
I just plagiarize everything so that like it's all quote, right?
Oh yeah.
Fair use though, because like Jamie and I technically make it transformative.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't.
Got him.
I don't. But I'm thinking about hiring one of those guys who reads the side effects on prescriptions to just list off all my sources at the end of every episode.
Oh, I love
It just goes Wikipedia. Like,
Yeah.
if you or a loved one has been affected by mesothelioma.
Yeah.
This podcast will not, to my knowledge, give you mesothelioma.
Might give you COVID though if you come to it too close. If you're in the room with one of us, this podcast could give you COVID.
Yeah, it's a 1 out of 3 chance that the Lore Boys will give you COVID.
True.
So it's like the most dangerous podcast on the internet.
Yeah. It's Lore Boys Roulette.
So elsewhere in the Valley of Defilement, you can kill another giant slug and loot golden armor off the corpse. The description on this armor states that it was worn exclusively by high-ranking female knights from the Highlands. Selin Vinland, who is a woman you can speak to in the valley, is a living knight, obviously. She's not like a ghost or anything. And she's also wearing a set of this golden armor, while her brother Garl Vinland is the last knight left protecting Astraea. And you actually fight him instead of fighting her. She kills herself before you can get to her, once you kill Garl. And he wears dark silver armor. So it kind of stands to reason that Vito, the Moonlight Knight, was eaten by slugs, and that's why you can find her sword inside a bundle of slugs and her armor inside another slug.
Other bundle of slugs.
A different slug bunch, exactly.
I wonder if
They're all coming out of the little doors in the walls, the slug bunch.
people like oil their blades and stuff, right? Like I feel like a bunch of slugs on your blade, like it might keep it.
Oh, probably good for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is not that far from, like, some fucking item you could have in a Souls game, like the Slug Bunch, basically, to, like, temporarily imbues your fucking blade with poison or something.
Yeah, you just gotta be careful.
Oh, get careful in swamps. There's moonlight slugs out there.
One interesting thing that's kind of funny that you bring up, like, the weapons of these knights, is because the large sword of Moonlight is made entirely of moonlight in Demon Souls and cannot be blocked by shields, further lending credence to the fact that Vito was a knight with Maiden Astraea, because Selin Vinland also has a sword called Blind that is, like, made entirely out of wind, and they're the only 2 weapons that cannot be blocked with shields. So it would be the large sword of Moonlight and Blind that bypass shields, both of them being wielded by 2 women on the same team, basically, would kind of stand to reason.
And I will throw one of the craziest Lore Boys canon conspiracy theories I think that I've ever pitched. This is a rough translation from Japanese, right, for both of these. And I'm gonna say blind comes from when you don't have moonlight at night, it would be so dark that you'd be blind, right?
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Kind of like twin sisters sort of thing.
That's not as ridiculous as I thought. Yeah, I mean, if you kill Selin, you loot the same armor off her as well. So,
all right,
it's the dull gold set, whereas you get the dark silver set when you kill Garl Vinland.
They both sound very good in PvP. Can you like parry them? I wonder. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but not the projectile.
But you cannot block them. No, you cannot parry the projectile.
Okay.
Getting the weapon in Dark Souls. I mean, also like regarding our Demon Souls, we did a full episode about Demon Souls when the remake came out. I fucking love that game. I gotta say, like, I played the PS3 version. It is jank as all hell. Like almost unplayable in some places because it's like the frame rate tanks to like 11 a second, which is a common problem with FromSoft games, especially recently.
Yeah, it's just so funny because it's just like the game that you just want like stable frame rate. Like, timing is just so crucial.
Also, it's a PS3 exclusive, and it the same problem with Bloodborne. It's only on one platform, and it just doesn't fucking work
on that platform.
Yeah, is it like, did someone describe a dev kit to you over the phone? Is that what happened? Like,
I had good experiences with Bloodborne, but I kind of only really got into it later. I guess I wasn't right on.
I will say Pete 2 is like more than anybody I know uppity about frame rate. So.
I am. Yes. Yeah.
Elden Ring has been a little fucky for me. Like, whenever my horse, sometimes if I mount, like, while running up onto a rock, it registers my horse as being in the middle of the air and then just, like, disconnects me from the game. I don't know why it does that.
What the
but,
fuck?
yeah.
The disconnection from the game is crazy because I remember when it first came out, and like me and Pete would be on Discord playing Deep Rock, and you would want to keep playing Elden Ring, but you couldn't like get onto Discord because your computer would crash if you had them both open at the same time, kind of thing. Like, or just like your internet would stop working, which doesn't make any sense.
So
like,
someone who knows computers better, please explain if this is possible. But another guy told me it's because my graphics card is working so hard that it just like fucks up other parts, that like my internet doesn't work. I don't know how those are connected in any way, but people keep saying it's my graphics cards. That's the problem. Yeah. But
a vagabond on the street told me.
Yeah.
A guy who used to
smelling of wine and cheap cigarettes came up to me on the street and explained it to me.
Picking butts out of like the dried leaves next to the sidewalk. He's just like, I heard about your Elden Ring problem. Like, okay. Graphics card.
Yeah.
One shoe, one croc.
He seemed trustworthy, I gotta tell you. And then he kissed me on the... Oh, maybe that's where I got COVID, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy giving you advice about computers. That would be it, yeah. The homeless guy.
He gave me
I love the pregnant pause. I love the pregnant pause after he kissed me on the... Leave that to mystery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So getting the weapon in Dark Souls is a little bit more annoying. I never did it, like I said, but I did watch my roommate do it. And it looks fucking miserable. So in Dark Souls, there are multiple dragons all around the game. Some are bosses, some are part of the environment, and some are just regular enemies. And in this game, and exclusively in this game, so in Dark Souls 1, you can cut off their tails to get a unique dragon weapon. And you can do this to every single one in the game, including the dragon in the Ash Lake, who like brings you into the Dragon Covenant. He will not attack you. He is basically a prop and is like part of the environment, but you can still cut his tail off and get a weapon out of it. So if anybody goes back to play that. In the case of the Moonlight Greatsword, you get it by cutting off the middle tail on Seath the Scaleless.
Oh, we've heard of him before.
A Miyazaki reference to the first game that came out when he was a baby.
Oh, he's Seath. I know all about him.
Yeah. Nodding.
I see.
Like, I didn't even know this because, like, obviously I researched Kingsfield first. I didn't even make this connection until I wrote this part about Seath the Scaleless in Dark Souls. Because I was just, like, writing shit in order I was going to say it. And I was like, oh, yeah, like, he did just reference, like, again, it's just, like, a classic internal reference that, like, the new hires kind of carried on from the old guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say, so when I beat Seath, and I've beaten Dark Souls exactly one time, another time I just got hung up on Gravelord Nito forever, and I was screw this game. But when I beat Seath, I tried to cut his tail and just failed and ended up killing him. So apparently I was close to getting the Moonlight Greatsword.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. It looks super fucking tedious because Seath, I posted a picture of the boys. He is the top half of a very traditional looking dragon. He's all white because he has no scales.
Yeah, not traditional in the sense that he's scaleless.
Yeah. But his silhouette is at least. He doesn't have legs. He's just like got this big thick ass with tentacles poking out of it.
Hell yeah.
And he just rotates on a dime. So when I watched Orin do it, it is very much just like, you just like book it at the middle tail that's like poking out of the back of him. You hit it once and then he's just rotating, but he doesn't rotate like a giant animal would because he's just a 3D model in a video game. He is basically like a rotating like tray, like he's on an axle. So it just looks fucking terrible.
He's like a lazy Susan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're just trying to get to the honey garlic and it just keeps fucking going. So I never finished Dark Souls 1 with an intelligence build. I never even tried to do this. It looked awful. But that's how you get it in Dark Souls 1. And this year's model comes with a new trivia card. And this one I put in quotes, so I won't get nearly as confused and old, like a scared animal, basically. This sword, one of the rare dragon weapons, came from the tale of Seath the Scaleless, the pale white dragon who betrayed his own. Seath is the grandfather of sorcery, and this sword, imbued with his magic, which shall be unleashed as a wave of moonlight. So unlike Seath in Kingsfield, this Seath is not a god, but he's like a demigod in the Greek myth sense, as he was bequeathed immortality by Gwyn, the Lord of the First Flame. So after betraying the dragons and telling Gwyn, and we have a whole episode about this, so again, there's like a little blurb here. After
There's like
betraying
big trees and stuff. There's Windex, lightning, all sorts of stuff.
He betrayed the dragons, told Gwyn and the other lords, like, hey, by the way, the dragons are mean to me because I have no scales. I'm gonna die. They're weak to lightning, and if you can conjure it, I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's all good. And then, as a reward for helping in the war against the dragons, Gwyn gave Seath the Scaleless a fragment of a lord's soul, ascending him to becoming a demigod, and like a castle where he decided to use like crystal magic to research immortality. And that drove him eventually completely fucking insane, which happens in real time to Big Hat Logan over his NPC quest in that game. So it drove him crazy as well.
Yeah, everyone I know who's just locked themselves up in a room by themselves using crystal magic to figure out how to become immortal. Always gone insane. But anyways, yeah.
They don't look that pale too. So.
Yeah. A little sidebar here. The pursuit of immortality leading to disaster is pretty much the theme of every single game that Hidetaka Miyazaki has directed, and also Dark Souls 2, which he did not work on. Or did not direct, at least. King Allant, who's the main villain of Demon's Souls, tried to do it. All the lords in in Dark Souls tried to prolong their immortality. Vendrick did it in Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 3 is about prolonging or either ending the cycle of immortality that has cursed the world. The Thumerians in Bloodborne did it with their blood ministration. Kuro, the prince that you're protecting in Sekiro, is immortal, and there's like all these evil centipedes everywhere, and like him being immortal is why a different samurai clan attacks his clan, is to try and like unlock the secrets of like dragon tears or some shit. And also like the central conflict of Elden Ring that happened in the past is when like Queen Marika removed and hid away the Rune of Death. Like I don't know like if like Miyazaki is specifically afraid of like Elon Musk or something, but he keeps writing about like immortality being an evil thing.
Yeah.
By the way,
the rich and powerful making themselves immortal somehow and dooming the rest of the world.
Yeah. You remember how I said like Lore Boys canon, the Rune of Death equals immortality or whatever, and we weren't sure that one exactly equaled the other. Sketchy Jesus found the voice line that did tie it together. So
beautiful, thank you.
Yeah,
good.
We got there, boys.
Yeah.
So one more little game before we come up on our break here. In Dark Souls 2, there is the Blue Moon, You Saw Me Standing Alone Greatsword, and that is carried by the summonable NPC Dean Martin, or as they call him in the game, Benhart of Jugo. Okay?
Okay, very good.
I wrote that down. I was like, oh, I'm so funny. The Blue Moon Greatsword has been in his family for years and is a prized heirloom, and he claims that it has potential that only a true swordsman can unlock. This sadly is not true, as even the weapon's flavor text states that there is no magical energy in the weapon at all. The Blue Moon Greatsword is just a replica, and that is betrayed even by its stats, because it does not require intelligence and does not have a magical special attack. It's just a fake. The true Moonlight Greatsword can be crafted by the weaponsmith Ornifex, who is this like awful crow lady, by using the old Pale Drake soul. This is indeed the soul of Seath the Scaleless that managed to like continue to exist and like reincarnate itself throughout the years. In Dark Souls 2, he is reincarnated as Freya, who is a gigantic spider. She'll only drop this on New Game Plus. Or by burning a bonfire ascetic, which just moves a certain area into New Game Plus difficulty. Even if you're on New Game, it will up the difficulty of the region around you. This weapon can, of course, like in all of them, shoot out an arc of moonlight, and is back to doing pure magical damage, because the one in Dark Souls 1 does some physical damage. In Dark Souls 2, it seems to be back to its Demon Souls roots of being made just like of pure moonlight.
Cool. Have you used it in like Dark Souls 1 and stuff? Like, do you know what it feels like? Like, does it always just shoot magic every time you swipe, or do you have to like?
No, it's a charged heavy attack. If you hold R2, I haven't used it in Dark Souls 1, but if you hold R2, it shoots out the beam.
Cool.
Basically, I've only used it in Dark Souls 3.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah. The ascetic is kind of the only thing I still like about Dark Souls 2. Like, Dark Souls 2 has, like, upgraded New Game, which, like, the game is legit worth playing through twice.
Yep.
I just can't fucking go back to it. Like, I just don't like it. Like, I just can't do it. But the bonfire aesthetic, like, leveling up an area is cool, because I do have, like, a sorcery build in Dark Souls 2, and, like, I'm gonna fight Freya twice, like, back-to-back, just to get the Moonlight Sword and, like, do a Moonlight build, but that is under the... If you see me playing Dark Souls 2 again, something has gone horribly wrong in my life.
Comics not coming out in July, folks.
Yeah. He's playing Dark Souls 2.
Jay's got COVID. Everything's falling apart.
So before we move on to a different series, a different IP, I suppose we'll move on to a quick break.
A Moonlight Breaksword.
We'll now detour into Yharnam and Bloodborne, just like FromSoft did back in 2015. So the weapon, the Moonlight Greatsword, is in fact not in Bloodborne at all. You can only get it if you buy the DLC, which I did not do.
Oh,
Bastard.
It is in the Old Hunters, which is like a real son of a bitch move. That, I feel like that's a publisher move. That's like a Sony thing where it's just like, hey, you know, this historical treasure that you've like kind of imbued in the culture of all your games, sell it to people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay. Yeah. This iteration of the sword is a very normal looking kind of like two-handed long sword, like a claymore, like just nothing too special about it. However, in Bloodborne, every weapon has two forms. So the classic version of this weapon can be summoned by sheathing the physical blade in a large blade made entirely of light. And once again, your charged attacks are the things that shoot out the wave of moonlight. I may have like left this out here. Starting in Demon Souls, they removed the moon lightning, so the weather control was working basically.
Okay, back on.
It's just the moonlight disc that gets fired out of it at this point.
I love the two forms in Bloodborne, but I remember one playthrough I had this giant like honking hammer that would take like 3 seconds to swing, or
the Kirk hammer.
Yeah, or you could unsheath a little sword from inside the hammer and then a little fast attack.
I used the Kirk hammer a lot at first because again I thought it was really cool. The transformation combos were just like fun to look at for the Kirk hammer.
Yeah,
where you'd like, because if you work in a transformation which is like L2 or something, and like mid attack, you'll go into a transformation combo, and for the Kirk hammer, you would like grab the hammerhead off your back and do like a two-handed swing with both, and then like flip the sword into it, and then continue just with a two-handed like mallet, basically.
Very cool, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up not sticking with the weapon because I didn't find it very strong. I used the stake driver, which was just like an arm-mounted spear that you could retract into like this gunpowder powdered spring, and basically just like punch enemies, and it would knock over basically anything in the entire game.
I ended up getting the Kirk hammer into the wheel that you could like rev up and spin on your back. I honestly want to just plug in my PlayStation and play Bloodborne, even though I have Elden Ring. I love that game so much.
You got to get like some compressed air in your PlayStation at first, because that thing will just catch fire, because there's probably like 6 inches of dog hair on it at this point. I
haven't plugged it in. I haven't plugged it in a year. But I
have Robin making a nest in there. Like.
I got the outsides, but yeah, I should open it up. They'd tell you not to, but I probably should open it up in somehow.
I mean, you bought it years ago. Your warranty's void at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But there's
they tell you not to because they just want to have a reason to make you buy a new one, right? So
Right. When it gets so saturated with dog fur, they just want to sell you a new PS4.
Yeah.
So as you'd expect on this one, it's got new flavor text at this point on the Moonlight Greatsword. It's got like all the classics. It's got the charged stab, it's got the short range laser, zero sugar, all that shit. The text on the item reads: an arcane sword discovered long ago by Ludwig. When the blue moonlight dances around the sword, it channels the abyssal cosmos. Its great blade will hurl a shadowy light wave. The Holy Moonlight Sword is synonymous with Ludwig, the Holy Blade, but few have ever set eyes on the Great Blade, and whatever guidance it has left to offer, it seems to be very private and elusive sort. A very private and elusive sort. So the old gods of the cosmos, like a very Cthulhu flavor, in Bloodborne makes sense. I personally think, Lore Boys canon, that the sword itself is more of like a vessel for the moonlight, and the moonlight is talking directly to Ludwig, because he does eventually go fucking crazy.
Yeah. This is
in Bloodborne.
This is what Ludwig looks like when you have to fight him. But I think this is like more his pure form. He looks like just like a bunch of beast bits all put together. He's kind of hard to even interpret when you look at him.
His face looks like it's on his arm, which is like big and distorted. He's got, like I don't know, that's like hay growing out of his head, like corn, old corn husks growing out of his head, maybe.
That's what he's supposed to look like. His head somehow ended up on his arm in the fight, but like he kind of looked like just a standing up horse before.
Yeah. So it's a missable drop from Ludwig the Holy Blade in the DLC, the Old Hunters in Bloodborne. He's, I think, the first boss of the DLC. He is a gigantic man, and you guys are right to call out the hay and all the horse bits. He, at some point, became fused with his horse, and that's why he's got, like, why the long face, buddy, and all the kind of, whatever, like, hooves poking out of him on, like, horse legs he can't use, sort of thing.
He didn't study the gravity magic like Radon did, so he wouldn't put too much weight on his horse. So he just like got fused into it, I
mean, the tiny horse is so fucking funny.
Yeah, Radon goes to gravity school just so he could like protect his little steed. It's very cute.
Ludwig was the first beast hunter of the Healing Church, founded by Lawrence, who was a vicar or vicar. I don't know what that rank in the church is called.
A vicar.
A vicar? Okay.
Yeah, I know that from Outer Worlds.
Oh, vicar. That's true. That's one of the companions.
Vicar Max. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lawrence had discovered and created some kind of mixture using the blood of the old gods that he had discovered below the city of Yharnam. Him, along with the scholars from the School of Bergenworth, created the process of blood ministration as a form of healing. This has really led to the events of the entire game. As we see, taking blood transfusion from cosmic gods that you found in the basement makes people go crazy, and in some cases turns them into werewolves or even larger monsters, I think depending on how much they've done. Because you've got Vicar Amelia, who is huge, or... and like some of the other ones, like Father Gascoigne, who is just like kind of a taller than a man, but still basically just like a man-sized werewolf when you fight him.
He starts as like a man and he becomes more and more werewolf. But like, you meet his mom or not his mom, you meet his daughter. His daughter, yeah, and him and his mom are like missing or whatever. So I think he's like
of a mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, the father, the opposite of a mother. How silly of me.
You get to go.
No, daughter's the opposite of mother.
Oh yeah. Little girl. But I mean, little girl, big girl. Mom,
it's the
dad.
classic. It's the classic. Is the opposite of fire water, or is it no fire?
He's weak to fire.
Yeah, but he's probably like early on in his infection though, because him and his mom just like him and the daughter's mom just went missing or whatever, and you have to go tell the daughter later that
he's still in human.
Ate your mom. Yeah.
He's still in human form, and also
he's early on the blood. Like,
right. He's the first mandatory boss. The cleric beast, who is a gigantic monster that someone has turned into, is optional technically.
Yeah, and then the Vicar Amelia has been in that church for a long time, so she's like big and beastly because she's been like on that IV for a while,
Yeah. She ruined the game for me, and I have never liked it since, despite the fact she's like the third boss, and I still ended up beating it.
She has a big heal.
My PlayStation would run that game in that fight at like 15 frames a second. So I think I got killed. Oh yeah, it would drop to like stop motion animation like mid swing, so my dodge would be mistimed by like 40 years, and I got killed like I got killed like 100 times by her. It was horrible.
Damn, dude.
Until I switched weapons, I switched to the Beast Hunter Spear, which like does additional damage to beasts, and basically just like cheesed her that way. But yeah, that fight, the performance on the PS4 really fucked that game up for me. Probably forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame. It's a real shame that one is exclusive. That's like, of all the FromSoft games, like, hey, I'll probably play Elden Ring someday. I'm like keen on playing Sekiro, but like Bloodborne is the one that I like really want to play.
It's good.
Because I played it at Jamie's and like I beat Gascoigne. I'm pretty sure. Like he's like the one.
We played it on stream for charity once too when we did Extra Life. Yeah, that guy bet me if I could beat Gascoigne in one shot, he'd pay us $40.
Yeah. Elden or something. Anyway, but it's like so fun, so fast, so responsive. Like like feels so good, and I so wish it was on PC.
Yeah, and
That was
never
the
will be.
problem, right? It was responsive until it wasn't, and it like I was just hard locked at a boss because like her fur just kills it. And
I think
was
it
like, "All right."
matches Ethan's playstyle too, because like the best defense is like after you get hit, get 2 hits in, so you get your health back,
Yeah.
right? So like,
Exactly. Yeah.
The rally's pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I believe they call it puke and rally in the tutorial. After you
I like it so
shotgun a
much.
bunch of blood.
I beat the game once by myself, and then another time we did co-op the whole way through with Sneaky Feet, who used to come on the stream a lot. Andrew, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So yeah, the blood administration, like, and all like the beasts created, led to the creation of the church hunters, of which Ludwig was the first. So he was the first hunter of the healing church. He founded the workshop where they started building the trick weapons, which of course are the transformable weapons. Eventually, he became corrupted and went mad after years of hunting beasts, which happens to a lot of people, like beast blood, because it made them crazy. Like if you hunt too many, you get like soaked in it, and it drives you crazy. Eventually, Ludwig ended up imprisoned in the Hunter's Nightmare, which is like this pocket dimension where he's forced to like kill people forever. There's like a river of blood that goes to the first area that is like pouring out of the area that he's in because he's killed so many beasts and other hunters within the Nightmare that like there's a literal river pouring out of his like hut or in the temple that he lives in, I guess.
Pretty badass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, I think Loreboy's canon, it was the sword that drove him crazy. Because it has an aspect of Moonlight to it, and like the true ending of the game, there is a old god called the Moon Presence. The moon is like very much like linked to the old gods that cause insanity. So that's like my thing more than the blood that drove him crazy, or like a combination of the two. Maybe the sword itself drove him crazy, because like halfway through the fight, like the first half of the fight, he's very much like on all fours running around and like screaming at you. Halfway through the fight, his second stage, he like stands up and like holds the sword in 2 hands, but the sword fucking comes out of nowhere. And he was just like, "Oh, you were here this whole time. You were by my side." It like materializes in front of him, and it changes the way he stands, and then he's all of a sudden upright fighting 2-handed with a gigantic fucking sword. So like I think it was the sword that did it. Personally, officer, wasn't him, it was the sword, sort of thing. Like, is what I think.
Yeah, it's probably one of those things where it's like, oh, he would have been fine if he was just drinking, but when he was drinking and doing DMT, like, yeah, it went a little off the rails, right? Like,
Yeah.
he was problematic because of the beast blood, and it did make him like an angry drunk, and he'd lash out and all these things. But like,
then he got hella faded.
Yeah, exactly. One day somebody put some lean into his cup, and it was just like, well, here we go, I guess. Like,
It was fine when he smoked his joints, but then he got into the crystal moonlight, and then everything.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So after the fight, you can find his severed head on the ground. You can either just hit it one more time and kill it. You'll get the Holy Moonlight Sword. Or if you're dressed in church garb, there's different like armors in the game. He'll like talk to you and just give it to you because he thinks you're like a priest or a nun or whatever.
Okay.
Dark Souls 3 very much plays the hits, and we have like an entire episode on the Lords of Cinder, so I'm not going to go into this one. This version of the sword is just like straight up the same sword from Dark Souls 1 and 2. Cool. Osiris, King of Lothric, discovers Seath's archives at some point in Prehistory, and like is like experimenting on his children and on his bloodline, and creates an invisible baby called Ocelot. At some point, he transforms himself into like a slimy, like were-dragon by accident. And when you kill him, you bring his soul to Ludlith of Corland, who is the only Lord of Cinder who is like sitting and waiting to die, like to restart the Age of Fire. And he's the guy who crafts your ascended boss weapons, basically. So you just get Osiris' soul, which is basically possessed by Seath, and then he gives you the Moonlight Sword. This is the build that I have in that game. It's very good. It functions identically as it always has. It's got but like with the weapon arts in Dark Souls 3, it's got like more complex combos, but a lot of them end in like a laser beam, a shockwave, or whatever.
Cool. Yeah.
There is, however, a spell in the final DLC for Dark Souls 3 called Old Moonlight. And this uses souls to reform the memory of an ancient sword that was found inside Midir. who we do talk about on a previous episode. Madir was an ancient.
That's just that's what I call my niece.
Madir.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
Tips Moonlight Greathelm, like
Madir. Shoots an arc. Madir was an ancient immortal dragon who, like, apparently also sided with the gods. And he was tasked by the gods to hold back the Age of Fire ending darkness of the abyss. The text on the spell reads in part, "The sword is named after Moonlight, but it is slightly different from the one that is fashioned of the old pale drake Seath. Perhaps it is rooted in an older memory from not long after the beginning." So maybe this kind of Lore Boys canon's Kingsfield as part of Dark Souls' history.
Cool.
Right?
I mean, Kingsfield lore when, man?
Yeah. Fuck, it's so hard to find.
You just signed yourself up, dude, to getting requests for this for the next year and a half.
I wonder if we can even buy that game online.
It might be a PS1 classic on like PS3 or something. It does not look fun to play, I'm not gonna lie. It looks awful.
I found it used on eBay, 1995, 220 Canadian dollars.
Cool. Yeah, wow. You know what, Jamie? If you wanna do that, go for it. Or you could probably just download PSX and torrent the 80 megs that game probably is.
Wait, it's on Etsy for 197.
Oh, even better. You can get it from a housewife instead.
You get Kingsfield.
It's just a knitted CD-ROM, like.
It's on Etsy, yeah. It's weird. Okay. All right. Well, we'll look into it, users. We'll put our patron money back into the show.
Yeah, we haven't had to invest in anything in a while. Maybe we'll get a copy of Kingsfield. So what's really cool about the summonable sword, and another reason that I personally think now that Kingsfield is part of one of the Ages of Fire, basically in the past, is the spell does not look like the Moonlight Greatsword from Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, none of them. It is like a holographic spell of the one from Kingsfield. It's a different model, basically. Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So now we're going to finally come to the latest version of the weapon, the Darkmoon Greatsword in Elden Ring. So if you were here for the SEO or here for the spoilers, here we go. Finally, baby. Right at the end. It's the post-credit scene that's the only reason you go to see a movie now. Yeah. It's just to see what happens.
Yeah, listeners, you got to tweet in now if you've gotten the Moonlight Greatsword in Elden Ring already. If you figured it out on your own, you got to tweet in now.
We went a bit over time. We gave you some extra time. We're at an hour 11. So if you haven't done it by now, you're never going to do it by yourself.
Yeah. Give up. Yeah. Just give up.
You'll never be able to do it without us telling you how. It's literally impossible. So a couple of weeks ago, we did an episode about the family tree of the gods in Elden Ring, and Ranni is among them. You get the Darkmoon Greatsword at the end of Ranni's quest line. She is the daughter of Radagon and Renala. And honestly, in our Patreon bonus episode, Jamie, you were talking about how hard it is to research Elden Ring lore. It is 30 people and 2 names. It is insufferable.
Yeah,
I have no idea who anybody is.
Yeah, it's annoying. But okay, so Radagon is also Melania, right?
So no, we have
also fuck.
It's America.
America, sorry, exactly, yeah. I literally know who it is, but can't remember because there's so many M names. But
just the names.
Yeah. It's so yeah. Radagon is like king of the Golden Order kind of thing, and Ranni, or what was her mom's name? Renala is like the queen of worship the moon. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
She's Ranni is the daughter of Radagon and Renala, and after Radagon either left or transformed back into Queen Marika or something, because Radagon and Queen Marika are the same person and got married somehow, or whatever the fuck is happening.
Yeah,
basically, it's anyway. Ranni and her sisters, because she had 2 sisters, ascended and became demigods.
Right.
It seems pretty likely that Ranni was involved in the Night of the Black Knives, which we did talk about, where assassins stole part of the Rune of Death from the Elden Ring and from Malekith, and then killed Godwin the Golden, who I think was one of Marika's sons as well, or something.
He was the first. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
like
okay,
the
there you
first on the Golden Order side. Like the whole reason why like they started fucking in the first place was like we want to be immortal, so let's get some sons and stuff just in case we aren't immortal. And
Yeah, but there's two Godwins, right? Like there's that Godwin, and then there was like
there's
didn't Godwin have a kid named Godwin?
Godwin, there's Godric, and then there's another god. I should.
Well, there's like Margit and Morgott, which is just like my son is also named Bort. Like, why the fuck are all these? Like, they're out of Margit license plates at the gift shop.
I pulled up the family tree. There's a Godwin, Godric, Godfroy. There's a God.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was like Godfrey and Godfrey that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, there's a Godfrey in America had Godwin. Godfrey was like the lion dude, the guy with the lion on his back that was just like the badass that like fought off all the giants and everything. And they had Godwin, Godric, Godfroy, and they had like Morgott and Moog, and those guys were ugly, so they sent them underground. And,
yeah, they named them Morgott and Moog.
yeah, probably after the horns. Anyways, that's all.
Clearly believers in what is it, nominative determination or something, or like if you're named like the classic example is like Tom Hanks's kid, where like the one is named Chet and looks like the very stereotypical Chet.
Oh yeah, Chet Hanks. Yeah. And White Boy Summer.
Yeah, and the other one's named like a very tame name. Colin, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It looks very much like a Colin. Like,
yeah, you know, it works the other way too. Like if your name is somewhere, the mere exposure effect. There's more Phils per capita in Philadelphia than elsewhere and stuff like that. Because Phils are attracted to go live where their names sound the same, I guess. But
I've never been attracted to that city. My name was almost Phil.
Oh yeah,
Almost, yeah.
Have you ever been to Peterdelphia?
I've not.
I mean, you're always filling in them cheeks, right? So,
never not, of course. So over the course of Randy's questline, you'll need to kill various bosses. This one kind of reconnected to the cosmos. You will have to kill Estelle, natural born of the void, which is like this very spindly looking insect that looks like it's made of like beads of like star energy that has like a human skull with pincers at the front. This thing apparently like stole the sky from Nokrum, the Eternal City, at some point in the past, which is fucking insane. That sounds very cool.
Yeah, the sky looks beautiful in Nokrum too. Like even though it's underground, like it's one of the prettiest places in the game I've went so far. I guess the old sky was even better.
Yeah, and that's the shitty sky that he left behind.
Yeah.
But you have to kill Estelle. So at the end of her quest, Rani is found dead in front of two fingers. The two fingers are all over the game, and from what I've seen, they're just like two big, gross human fingers. They're like 20 feet tall, and they're kind of like radio towers that communicate with the outer gods, and then that gets interpreted by finger maidens, or if you're being coy, heavy petting maidens.
Yeah, those are the two fingers are in like the hub area too, and once you get your first two great runes, like you're eligible to become the Elden Lord because you have more runes than anybody else, and the two fingers will be like, go here. The two fingers want you to become Elden Lord. I'm not sure why yet. Could be bad reasons.
They're very, very weird looking. I'm not gonna lie, like it's a very weird artistic choice because they're just like two chubby, hairy fingers that just like point straight up in like a peace sign, but it's not like a fist. It's just like this section with no thumb of your hand. It's very strange.
They're really hairy, like the beasts in Bloodborne too.
They've got the corn husks on them.
Yeah, the maidenless thing comes from that.
Okay.
Country bumpkin reference.
Yes, thank you. You bumped up country bumpkin.
Yeah. Corked up white boy at his country bumpkins.
Yeah. So all the peasants' legs and arms to his back. What a jumped up.
So Rani has actually killed the fingers that she's sitting in front of, with like one of like the black assassin daggers that had been used to kill Godwin as well. And after you give her the Dark Moon ring, you get the Dark Moon Greatsword from that area. That's your reward for completing Rani's questline.
So she
Dark Moon Greatsword.
Yeah. She like kills her father's like allegiances or whatever because she's against the fingers. She's against the Golden Order. She's all moon now, baby. After killing the fingers, right?
Exactly.
All moon, baby.
Yeah.
All moon, no nuts.
All moon, no breaks.
Yeah.
So this version of the sword does both magic and ice damage, which is like a new elemental type that they added in Dark Souls 3 that's carried over into Elden Ring. So it's kind of new and improved. But the Moonlight Greatsword is actually name of the weapon's special ability. The sword glows and buffs itself, gaining the ability to launch the Moonlight arcs at enemies. So it's just a self buff of every damage type, so physical, magic, and ice. And then it gets the ranged attack as well. So it's very much like Elden Ring is a combination of all of the ideas Miyazaki's already had. This Moonlight Greatsword is very much like a blend of the cosmos and the Western fantasy that like the previous games that he's worked on have all kind of led up to.
Nice. I think one thing not to dwell too long about it, one thing Elden Ring did really well is that if you want to just try all the different swords you pick up, like there's enough levels in the game that you can just hit all those like minimum values for every sword you pick up, and there's so many cool big weapons that you get along the way. So I'd say like more so than the other Dark Souls games, don't worry about like your stat allocation as much, because the game's so big you can get to level 200 or whatever, so you can get all your soft caps or whatever. So
99 in all stats, baby.
Yeah. I mean, that is the frustrating thing with a lot of Souls games, is just like you go the strength builder, you go the dex builder, and you're like, you see something cool in a YouTube video that somebody else is doing, and you're like, oh, that'll take me like days to get that many. Now that it costs 200,000 souls per level up, and I get one stat per level up to get like 30 more points into my int for this build is not worth it, essentially. So it's start over or go without, basically.
And there is respects too. After you beat Randy, actually, there's respects.
Oh, she's a respec one now. Yeah, cool. Yeah. But yeah, that's the Moonlight Greatsword and some of its iterations. Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/theloreboys, if you want to get some bonus content where we're going to continue talking about this. And also complaining about other shit, probably, because we were doing that earlier.
Please subscribe.
I complain about Jamie coughing some. That's for sure.
Sorry. Please subscribe so I can get my medicine. The boys won't give it to me because we haven't hit our quota this month. So
exactly. So we need more people to sign up for that Patreon.
You can take a sick day or you can get a vaccine, Jamie, and you chose. Okay.
I'm here, aren't I?
Exactly. All right, you get your you get your ivermectin tablet this evening. I'll put it in your tea.
Wrap it in a piece of cheese, or you won't eat it.
Oh yeah. So I have been your host and your guiding moonlight, Peter O'Donoghue. You can find me at Loreboys Podcast on Instagram, or you can check out the comic I've been working on at Squared Idea. I've been working on it a lot recently. Made a couple of other moves that, God willing, will go through, and I'll be done by the summer. Current intention is to launch the first part at Comic-Con in Montreal in the first week of July. I don't know if that's going to work out. I can't see the future, but that's what I'm trying to do at this time. So, lads, what do you have to say for yourselves?
That was a Moonlight great show, Pete. Jamie, do you have anything you wanted to plug?
Hop in the Discord. I love how much DRG love we got. We put one Deep Rock Galactic out, and we had like 4 or 5 people join just to say Rock and Stone. I love that.
That was great. That's true.
So come on into that Discord. Like, there's a bunch of games people were playing. I think Pete had, while I was shivering under 3 blankets on Friday, Pete was hanging out in chat with folks till like 1 a.m. Just come into the Discord. That's where all the community stuff kind of is centered around. And if you want to be a part of that, it's really easy to join. And Discord, or what is it, lorebuzz.com/about?
Yeah. Or the description of this episode on your podcast platform.
Yeah, there should be a link in the description of this episode that'll take you to the Discord. Do come on and join. Jamie and Peter do a lot of hanging out with people. I'm more of you have to do an obscure side quest and talk to some random NPCs in our Discord before...
there's an invisible bridge to hang out with Ethan.
No, that's not true. If you just tag me, I just don't spend a lot of time online, but if you tag me, I'll usually see it. I've had notifications muted for the past few weeks, but they're back on, baby. So let me know. If you guys want to support the show, get Jamie his medicine, please head to patreon.com/theloreboys.
I will be withholding it actually at this point.
Yeah.
I don't want to guilt anybody, but you better listen to all the ads in the episode, or else I'm gonna withhold medication from Jamie.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's a bunch of tiers there. The lowest one starting at $3. Which will get Jamie his ivermectin. And there's $9 and $15 tiers where we'll forego the ivermectin. We'll just give him some beer, some lean, and some DMT. So make sure to head on over to patreon.com/theloreboys and check it out for some bonuses there. Now, if you guys don't like Patreon, don't trust them, don't want Jamie to get his medicine, which, hey, respect. We do have Lore Boys Prime, where you guys can sign up, send us various goodies. You guys can sign up to be an NPC in my Moonlight Greatsword questline. We're just adding more obscure dialogues, as many as possible, to each of our episodes. And if you could listen to all the episodes and piece together the clues that we have laid out for you, you can figure out how to get access to my Moonlight Greatsword.
You just
5 years of clues.
Yeah, anyone who's just like slightly mentally unstable now is like hearing codes in all of our.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I like to think that
Lore Boys is going to be the new
Q,
dude.
Yeah, we're always telling you something, guys. You just have to listen.
Yeah, exactly. So we're recruiting. We're waiting to hear back from you guys on how you feel about that. And as a reward for anybody who figures it out, we're getting Jamie more sick. We're giving him all the fun diseases. You know what I mean?
Let's see how far we can take this.
Yeah, we did have someone kiss him on the COVID hole earlier this week for this episode, but who knows what he'll be sick with next week, huh?
Oh,
let's get crazy with it. Let's get funky.
Yeah. I want to see what happens with one of those like Amazonian catfish that sleeps inside your dick hole. Looks like. I want to see how you recover from that one.
Well, that'll be an exciting one.
One of those like things that replaces your tongue that looks like a weird bug that the fish
that
get.
beetle that lives inside fish. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the female stays on the tongue and the male hangs out right in the back cheek, just ready to reproduce. But anyways, just like me.
There's only one way to find out what pumping them full of moon juice and beast blood will do. So head on over to Lore Boys Prime.
Before the ad, Jamie, kind of aggressive, very normal. Second half of the show, werewolf. Like that's
exactly. I think that would constitute a Lore Boys.
Lore Boys
out. No, you talk to a lot of people and they're like, no, I like people like don't wash their feet too, and they're like, no, I like lather and it like rinses down, and it's like, okay, it does to an extent, but like you're not washing.
Yeah.
So PSA to all our listeners:
wash your ass, wash your feet.
Wash your ass, wash your feet. This will be the free preview clip. That'll go out to everybody, not just the patrons.
Oh, okay.
Wash your ass, wash your feet.
Good idea. 24 minutes. I'll write that down.